2, 1. All right, man. This is Pleb Talk, episode 13. I have a special guest, my good old friend Diego, here with us today.
Thank you.
We are going to talk about some music. We're going to talk about the kind of the beginnings of what I think the music rock genre kind of started, and really the foundation of all music. We're going to get into kind of today's culture in music and hip hop and hype and what's, that type of sort of thing. For this episode, we are drinking some Michelob Ultras, something light, and I am wearing a 2021-2022 Inter Milan away jersey, and you're wearing
PSG, probably like 2013, 2014.
I'd say so.
It's the Beckham number 23.
David Beckham.
Last time he wore that shirt.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
All
right, bro. Mine's not even open. Yours not even open. But cheers, bro. Let's get into this. Hey, everybody. We have a quick little word from our sponsor, Anchor.
Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. We also upload to Google Podcasts.
That's right. It's really just that simple in the sense of copying your podcast link and throwing it into that podcast distributing website. And from there, it's all hands off. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And what's the best part about it, Asael?
The best part, Sean, is that it's completely, totally free for everybody. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. To find our direct link would be anchor.fm/Pleb Talk Official.
And back to the episode.
All right, welcome back, everybody, yo. Like I said, this is episode 13. I have a good friend here, Diego, and really the start of this podcast, since we began planning it, was we actually had a conversation about what we're about to talk about, and really it came down to like me saying, hey, you know what, this is actually good content, and I actually want to talk about this on the podcast because I noticed that your knowledge as far as music and your expertise as far as artist was actually quite good. It's actually quite good.
I like music. I mean, I listen to a lot of different genres. So it's like whatever. I know a little something about a little bit of everything.
Exactly.
So it's like
exactly. So that's my first little topic I want to talk about. What was your kind of like your start? What was your who introduced you? What introduced you? Where did you kind of
music?
Find yourself in music, and when was that?
I want to say it was probably like mostly my dad.
Okay.
I think, right? Like we used to take like long road trips to go visit family.
Yeah.
It was probably like a 2-hour road trip.
Okay.
So he would just play whatever. He would play like Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, so just like old school rock, AC/DC. He used to have one of those like, the big iPods with like 140. It was one of the really expensive ones. Like the first time.
Thicker ones too.
Yeah, with the scroller. Yeah. Like the circular one. And he used to just have like just a bunch of music on there, and I would just pick sometimes just random albums, and he was like, oh yeah, this one's actually really good. This one was done. Like that.
And for the most part, it was like rock music.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. I remember I asked him, what's your favorite band? He said Deep Purple. And I was like, huh. Okay. And he played like a song, and I was like, interesting. And then he said he's seen Rush like live like 3 times. And I was like, whoa. Okay. I didn't even know he went to concerts.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. And then one of those road trips, we just went down the whole most popular, I guess, or like underground too of the Beatles. Okay. We just went to their discography. Okay. Just like different songs. And he would just do that a lot.
Through him, you kind of like went off your own and like, okay, let's go see what I like. And YouTube was kind of like beginning around that time, I assume, as well. And Apple Music or iTunes.
Yeah. It was like I guess I remember I got an iPod when I was little, and it was like the first time I had like freedom to get music. Yeah. And literally the only thing that was on it was like, I mean, as a kid, I had like American Idiot by like Green Day. I had Clint Eastwood by the Gorillaz. Yeah. I had like one Eminem album. Okay. Yeah. One like Pitbull album, and like
everybody got Pitbull. Yeah.
Yeah, just like a little bit of everything. Yeah. And then it was either that or just like wake up in the morning and then like put on MTV.
Oh yeah, that's a good
and
start.
It's just like, you know, Panic at the Disco or like 30 Seconds to Mars. That stuff would be playing like AF5.
Interesting, man. Interesting.
Chemical Romance. Yeah.
That's nice. For me, to answer that question that I asked, I'd say first it was my cousins. So growing up in San Francisco, I had older cousins that were skateboarders, and they kind of put me on Gorillaz. That I think the Gorillaz album, the debut album was I think called Gorillaz, where they're on the truck. I believe it's called Gorillaz. And I saw that one like in the room, and I was like, yo, like first of all, that album cover's crazy. Cartoon characters on the truck. I was like, I want to check it out. So I did. At that time, I was just kind of like still kind of like getting my palette of music, so it wasn't really my taste. I didn't really understand them. They're really more of like unorthodox rock band, the Gorillaz, I'd say. Or they're not traditional, rather. And so I wasn't really into it. But then I got into Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And the soundtrack there was insane. 4 actually, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4, and the soundtrack was insane. System of a Down, I believe Gorillaz maybe, Black Star. It's just rock and rap because they always kind of like fuse both of the genres into skateboarding culture, and that was kind of my my first kind of tippy toe, deep water, dip my feet into the water type of thing for music.
Right.
And I think that I hear a lot of people also do Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and then also the Garage Band or the Guitar Hero is kind of what got them as well into music.
And like shape their music taste.
Exactly. It's I mean, they tend to put, you know, like only hits on there, right? Like, you know, the best of this artist will put it on there, so you're kind of like introduced to a lot of good music through those video games or platforms. Yeah, dude. So you mentioned the Beatles, and and I kind of wanted to. So this is like an argument, and I'll be a devil's advocate, right? And we'll see. We talked about this a little bit. So this is the first time I've had a guest where we kind of know what's going on with the topics. But I remember last time we talked about it, I was like, hey man, just don't say no more. Save it for the podcast.
Save it,
Because this is like an interesting topic. That, like, it's. All right, I'll just put it out there. So my argument is that the Beatles, all things considered, are the epitome of, I'd say, even music, man. I wouldn't even just like dumb it down to rock music. I'd say music in general, because of, first of all, what they did at their age and the kind of the fame that they got, kind of really transcending just, you know, Europe or UK into United States, and I'm sure Asia as well, and Africa, and how big they got. And then throughout their career evolving as individuals and as a band to different sounds, you know, like the psychedelic phase and type like that. And then even till their grown-up age where they dropped that one with the four squares. I forgot the name of the album, but through their whole career, I just don't think there's like a bad album. And I will say, you know, in my defense or in their defense, it's like, sure, you might say Drake has more streaming than them, and you'd be right. You'd be right. It's more album sales, probably. You'd be right as well, because digital stuff didn't exist as much or at all whenever they started, for sure. And then towards the end, maybe, you know, Apple and whatever, it was kind of growing a little bit as well. But I just think they're the foundation of music, man. Like whenever like a band starts, that you kind of have to get like a reference point, one or two from the Beatles, to kind of understand what's going on. All right, I'm gonna pause it right there, because I forgot to put this motherfucker in this bed. Yeah. And then I'll just pick up right before I left off.
Yeah.
Follow me. Queste? No, you gotta be a good boy. Okay? Queste. Hey. No. Más. Queste? Yeah. 2, 1. And yeah, I'd say that they're the foundation of all music, man. I feel like for any artist coming up, they kind of have to know their stuff, or kind of read. Or did I lose you? I don't know. Am I making any sense? But what do you think, man? What do you think? I said a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it depends. I feel like there's probably like a lot of young people who've never listened to the Beatles, I would say.
Okay.
I mean, just like there's a lot of young people who've never listened to Guns N' Roses. There's a lot of like young people who've never listened to like Frank Sinatra. Like anything that someone could tell you that is the best music of a certain genre, or I don't know, like a certain style. There's definitely someone out there who's famous and making good music who has no idea who they are, or like.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, I guess not completely just unaware of the existence of the Beatles, but like obviously like I just think they like one or two songs. I don't think they like super into it.
Okay, that's fair to say.
Just because the music that people would be getting now, it's a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
And the way that people get music, it's recommended, and there's like playlists of everything coming up now, and you don't get any more oldies, I guess, being played on the radio usually, or if anyone listens to the radio at that point too. Like,
now, do you think this is a new thing? Do you think like, because I feel like to a certain point, like even maybe 10 years ago, in kids growing up in the teens, about 10, I mean we were teens 10 years ago, maybe like 20 years ago. I feel like even them, they had some sort of like introduction into the Beatles, or had some like maybe phase where they were like into the Beatles. So you're saying maybe now there's just either so much music, or they have just been left behind.
I feel like maybe there could be like a different like band they got into or something, like like Pink Floyd.
Sure.
You see all the shirts with the Pink Floyd, the Dark Side of the Moon, like all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I guess there's like foundational bands that people usually get into when they're growing up and they're like finding music.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, of course, everyone has like a little bit of knowledge on it, but like maybe my favorite band wasn't the Beatles, so I've never, it's a good band and I've listened to some of their discographies, but like there's people definitely out there who are just like, nah.
Because I feel like the argument I'm trying to make here is like not necessarily they're a band that everybody should listen to, but rather their favorite artist has some sort of like respect for the Beatles. I don't know, because like sure, maybe you start in Pink Floyd, and then as you do whenever you find a new artist, you kind of like, okay, so what's similar to them? And then you said Pink Floyd, so something similar that the Beatles have made similar to Pink Floyd might be that Sgt. Pepper's album, a little bit more abstract, a little bit more psychedelic, right? And maybe they kind of get that little gateway into the Beatles that way. And that's just an example. And what I'm just trying to say is like, I feel like there's not a band that's ever, or artist in general, that has ever had the impact as big as the Beatles. Now, and I'm talking like almost like 100, about 80 years or so.
100 years.
Almost. About 80 years of music here. And I'm saying the Beatles I'd still argue that they're still the best to ever do it. Now, what do you think about that? I'll leave it at that before I go on.
I feel like I would agree and disagree. Just because there's other bands like Velvet Underground that, to me, they have a lot of... Whenever you listen to their songs, the way they make the sounds before, it was just like, oh, this is the worst music ever. People would hate it.
Okay.
There was definitely people who loved it, and that's why they're as big as they are. But they actually got bigger as time went on, because they sounded more as to what like people wanted to make now. So I feel like there's other bands other than the most popular band to be out there that definitely influenced a lot more of the artists that people might be listening to right now.
Okay, so you said Velvet Underground, when they made the music, they made like strange sounds or unorthodox production style or something like that. That made them stand out, and because of that, at that time, it was so weird, quote unquote weird, that people weren't really into it. But the fact that they were so maybe a cult favorite, they started growing through that fan base. And a lot of artists do that, and that's fine. And you might even say, the Beatles kind of like stuck to what's popping, right? To what's popular. So they never really went too crazy. And like even Sgt. Pepper's, but that's because by the time they made Sgt. Pepper, like Pink Floyd was kind of getting traction. They were like weird, so maybe the Beatles like, hey, you know what? Maybe we got to do something a little bit more. Let's take a little acid or something like that and see what we make from that. and that's fine. And I mean, I hope you're not arguing that the Velvet Underground or artists like that, like them rather, have been or are as big as the Beatles. It's just that sure there's, I mean, just like genres, right? If you're like into country, the Beatles might have, I mean, a little bit to say about, right? Maybe you're like into Frank Sinatra and the Beatles and Frank Sinatra and their that classical music into rock music, they never really blended well. But in the Beatles,
the Beatles is the Beatles, I guess. Like they're just like a brand too. At this point, right? It's like the Beatles TM, trademark kind of thing. And I mean, I get it. Like, of course, Disney is gonna have a say on the industry of like entertainment or like movies. But I do think that, and it might be unpopular, but I do think, like, for example, like Velvet Underground, because they were part of, whenever they were making music, they were part of like an art movement during the 70s. So I guess it is later than the Beatles. So maybe like they got influenced by. But they were a band that was basically created out of the whole art movement that was happening in the 70s. Okay. Like they were, the lead singer, I forget the names, but the lead singer was like addicted to heroin. Like there was a bunch of stuff like that, and they were just part of that whole Andy Warhol movement. He was actually their manager, and
really,
because that was kind of the point. It's like they're making abstract art in music. So
I did not know that.
And the main writer for most of their music was a prodigy from Ireland. Okay. And he would just play at like 7, 10. He would play like orchestra pieces in the piano and like all these things.
That's crazy.
So it's like a mixed match of a lot of different sounds and like
cultures and backgrounds and stuff like that. I mean, that's powerful. That's powerful. The fact that they're able to translate a visual art, like Andy Warhol's kind of work, into a auditory art is powerful. I mean, I feel like nowadays that there's, if 50 years ago, like the music was quite like, I don't want to say straightforward, but kind of predictable, for the most part. Now, there's just music from everywhere, man, from absolutely anywhere. And we kind of get into like music that you can't even compare to the Beatles, like kind of how rock evolved into. First, it was like rock and roll and Elvis Presley and stuff like that, and then kind of like garage rock, grunge, type of Metallica, kind of metal type of art,
new metal,
screamo, stuff like that. So like rock as a genre, which might be arguably the most popular, maybe not anymore in today's day, but for the longest time, I'm sure that they had the most fan base, rock. But then again, within rock, there are so many subgenres, right, that just kind of branch out into whatever.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the Beatles kind of didn't go too crazy, and they kind of just, they played it safe for the most part, but I'd still argue that they're just the best to ever do it. And then you're right, Disney kind of bought them out and stuff like that, or Disney got involved, and their tentacles are in other places that help them grow through that as well. But yeah, man, I don't know, dude. I don't know. The Beatles I feel like you just can't go wrong with.
I feel like Disney, I kind of like use it as a metaphor for just like it's like my roommate uses this kind of like talk when he's like, oh, this movie is like completely Disney, even if it's not Disney. It's been Disneyfied. Like the whole main culture has been Disneyfied because it's gotta sell, it's gotta make numbers, and Disney's the best one to do it.
Agreed.
So it's like whenever there's like a piece of entertainment or I don't know, something like that, and it's just very mainstream, and you can just tell that it was made for the mainstream, then it's like, oh, it's been Disneyfied.
So it's been made for more attention rather to elaborate on art and kind of like
it's not an art piece, it's just a product that they're like,
this is what people's gonna like, not rather this is what I want to make out of my opportunity or my platform. Rather, that's interesting, man. That's it. And I agree. It's true, but we could like break it into like Paul McCartney and then John Lennon and George Harrison and then Ringo Starr, and like individually they were all crazy. And then I don't know if you've seen that Disney documentary that they made for the Beatles, or that.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so basically it's just that last rooftop concert that they had in, I think New York. I think it was in New York. They kind of like do a documentary to the build up to that concert, and you kind of see like the dynamic between the four band members and how Paul McCartney and John Lennon were kind of like the main guys, right? And then George Harrison kind of wanted more to say, kind of more artistic input in their songs and performances and stuff like that. And then Ringo Starr, I mean, he's just kind of chilling, right? I mean, you know, I'm sure he's got like good ideas, but he's like, you know, I mean, honestly, guys, like we're pretty good, right? So like, why change anything? But they kind of bump heads in that sense. But
he's also like the newest member, right? I think they used to have a John. It was like literally just like John Smith, I think was his name, or like George Smith. I don't know. But whenever they first started and like played in like London and all that kind of stuff, like little shows in Manchester, that kind of stuff. They had a different band member as the drummer.
The first two, I think it was just John Lennon and Paul McCartney for sure, and I'm sure maybe George Harrison came a little later, and then obviously Ringo Starr. But interesting, man. I like that. I have some things to think about. I know you said you watched or you heard a podcast about Velvet Underground. It was like a couple hours long, right? Yeah. I need to check it out, man, because I'm sure that you kind of learn more. And I really haven't listened to the music, really. I mean, obviously, the album covers the most kind of like famous thing. When you think about Velvet Underground,
that's Andy Warhol.
Like, that's Andy Warhol. You think of the banana. And real quick, man, let's move on, but let's start at the Beatles and let's kind of let's go down the timeline. We haven't rehearsed this or anything, so you toss some bands, like what do you think kind of came right after them, and we'll try to get into today's kind of world. So I'm not saying the Beatles are the first one to do it. I'm sure that there's maybe some predecessors, but let's just start at the Beatles for the sake of pulling out Wikipedia. So
like Billy Idol.
Okay.
Maybe.
So we have.
I think they were contemporary though.
Yeah, So the Beatles, Billy Idol, also say kind of like Sid Vicious.
That was.
Was that way later, like 80s?
That was punk, yeah.
Okay.
Might have been like 70s, 80s.
Like rock in general. Like we have to go into like the subgenres of rock, just kind of rock. So the Beatles, maybe like Rolling Stones or something like that.
Yeah, like Rolling Stones, the Doors.
The Doors.
And I guess like Rush.
It goes
Metallica.
quick. It was that?
Metallica.
Yeah, we're moving quick here. That's 2000s or something like that. But 1990s. Who was like 1990s? Real quick. Is Rage Against the Machine? That's maybe a little too early.
That's
like
early. That's
2000s as well.
Yeah,
Early 2000s. David Bowie.
Yeah, David Bowie
maybe. Then you said Billy Idol, so that's kind of like around the ballpark. 2000s, and we can go crazy here. This is what we probably know the most. Like Linkin Park, Green Day, obviously Rage Against the Machine, Gorillaz, Metallica. Moving on pretty quickly. Killers.
The Killers.
And most recently, and then we're like really now is the Black Keys, Arctic Monkeys.
That was like
2015 or something.
2012.
Yeah.
When I just remember that one El Camino album. That's the one that like I really liked.
Gold on the Ceiling.
Yeah. Like you said, Arctic Monkeys, The Strokes. The Strokes.
Yeah, they're the early 2000s as well. They've been around for a while.
I always get the top like 0.05% on my Spotify.
Oh really?
Yeah.
For the Strokes. Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Hopefully we see them later this year in Wichita, Kansas.
In Massachusetts. Yeah.
In Massachusetts. Yeah. So I have a real, hopefully it's not a controversial topic here, and I want to talk about today's music scene. Okay. And this is something I know you know a lot about because you've kind of already like mentioned a couple points, and I tried my best to like just save it for the podcast, but you've already proved to me that you kind of know what you're talking about through like first person experiences. So hype music, rap and rock music they kind of go hand in hand as far as like the kind of fan base that they have. Like they both like real hardcore, right? And when I say rock, I'm talking like just so you know, like Idols, they're real more hardcore, more like invested in the music feel. I'm not really talking like the Black Keys. I'm not really talking like Arctic Monkeys. Like they feel that music, right? They're passionate about it, and like their fan base is nice, it's beautiful, it's great. But everything kind of led up to this day, this weekend, not this weekend, a weekend, the Travis Scott concert. This was about a year ago or so. And we're not going to get into like, you know, the specifics of it because, you know, maybe there's a lot still like up in the air, but
it was really controversial.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of factors to consider, and we're not going to get, this is not a podcast where we're going to break that down. But one thing that I do want to talk about is the fan base. And that's, I'm not going to say that's the main factor, the cause of what happened, but it's hard to argue that's not a factor, right? The fan base, the attitude, the energy that they bring. Now, look, this is not something that let me retract because I don't want to get, you know, controversial. This is not something I'd say Travis Scott for the most part.
Make it controversial.
Because look, Travis Scott has some lyrics where he like incites some stuff like, hey, you know, if there's no like, if people don't, what was it?
And it ain't a mosh pit.
Yeah, exactly. If there's not a mosh pit, like it's not gonna go down. Like there has to be that. So like, I'm not saying he's inciting it, but per se, but he kind of is, right? So he's kind of like looking for that like hardcore, like I need to see him, like, you know, I'll do whatever it takes to see him type of thing. And this is kind of like a energy that his type of concerts bring, maybe the type of genre and artist that kind of relate to his music. So I don't know what you would call that music.
Well, it's just like hype music.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, I mean, at this point, specifically rap.
Yes.
And like Travis Scott and I don't know, like I just any similar artist, to Travis Scott.
Denzel Curry up until this last album maybe as well. Because he's a little bit more normal. I don't know.
It's just like it's kind of like rage.
Yes, like
TM,
a hype rage.
Also like rage trademark, kind of like this is the rage music, like XXX, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Whereas literally just I'm angry. I'm angry.
Exactly. Depression or anxiety, like fuck it, you know, F everything. I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Where do you think I have an idea? I have an answer. Where do you think this all started? Where was like? Was it an artist? Was it a song? Was it a time period that you think that was like, that's kind of where rap music kind of took a turn and created this hype genre, energy, vibe? What do you think started this all? I have an idea, but I'll let you think.
Obviously, like, well, the youth being angry and wanting to release energy and just being like you said, like F the government and like F my dad and all that kind of stuff. That kind of started, as far as I know, that kind of started with like punk.
Okay.
Back in like the 80s.
Okay.
Maybe,
wow. Okay.
Where it was just.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, where it was just like against establishment, and that's when like anarchists kind of like started coming out as like quote unquote anarchists or whatever, and punks with the mohawks and the studded like jackets, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, leather jackets.
Yeah, it's like I think that kind of started back then, with like the Misfits, Black Flag, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But there's definitely, at least back then, there was so whenever, like you mentioned, idols, right?
Yes.
I went to the concert and it's an atmosphere where there's mosh pits. There is like there's big mosh pits and people get pushed around. Slipknot, there's always mosh pits, especially those kind of rock concerts. They do the whole like wave thing where it's just like they spread the stage literally from one side to the other, and then the singer goes whatever the keyword is, and just boom, everyone just crashes against each other.
That's crazy. I haven't yet to go to a concert like that, so I appreciate that insight.
It's like it's really crazy, but also at the same time, if someone falls, if someone loses their glasses, if someone gets hit, you stop everything. And you're like, are you okay? Can you okay? And then you pick
whether
them back
you
up.
know them or not.
Yeah. No, like you could be hyping, you could be in the mosh pit, but as soon as you see that someone in need, you stop and you're like, are you okay? Everyone's good. All right, push them back in, and they can go back, or they can just. There's that kind of culture where it's a culture of.
Like respect and
respect. Yeah, it's we're all angry. Doesn't mean like we're gonna let out energy. But we can do it in a way where you're not gonna get hurt.
Exactly. And I feel like there's also like artists that would also like, because for that going back to the Idols concert, it was like a smaller venue, so like if something goes down, if there's like a circle of like people like kind of crowded over somebody, like he or she knows like something's going on over there, so like let me make sure as an artist to make sure that no one's getting hurt, like seriously hurt, at my concert. So I feel like there's also this sort of respect from the artist to the fans in that sense.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I want you guys to have the most fun as possible. You know, do your thing. You know, mosh, run around. You know, bump into each other. But as far as someone loses the glasses, gets stepped on, gets trampled on. It gets too serious. There's a certain respect. So at a size concert like that, I feel like that's a lot more doable. We'll get back to the Travis Scott concert because obviously it was a festival. It was not the case because obviously there's thousands upon thousands of people in open air.
Yeah, it was a mixture of a little bit of everything.
It was everything.
Went the way that no one wanted it to go, and
absolutely
exploded.
So you said kind of 1980s rock. That's not grunge rock, right? What would it call? What would you say the Ramones
and just like punk?
Okay, punk rock.
That was.
Right.
I mean, I think it was called punk.
Yeah.
With the Ramones, obviously, like now we have a lot harder music.
Yeah.
But it started kind of with those.
Absolutely.
I mean, even people said that the Beatles were too hard at that time, so it's like there you go. Like it goes back.
Because I mean, to define the genre of rock was really originally a genre of like there's a norm. There's this Frank Sinatra type of music when you go into movies and stuff like that. F that. I'm gonna get an electric guitar. I'm gonna strum it as fast as possible and as hard as possible. I'm gonna hit the the drums as hard as possible and just yell into the mic. And that's kind of like what kind of rock music is in a nutshell. As far as when we get into punk rock and kind of rage rock or screamo or stuff like that, just kind of like do it but as hard as possible. And then that's kind of where we got into those bands that you mentioned earlier. So I'd say you're right, man. I'd say that's a good point. I think for rock, that is really that kind of the start of kind of that I hate my dad type of music.
I hate you, dad.
But for rap, for hip hop, what do you think? Maybe I don't want you to. It's like almost like I want you to say what my answer is, but do you think there was something like where do you think kind of that started? Because like with hip hop, so what is hip hop? What is the beginning of hip hop?
The beginning of hip hop, like Run DMC.
Yeah, Run DMC.
To us, maybe there's definitely someone out there who's like, no, you don't know what you're
first
talking
one
about.
Is no, it's just like
no idea.
What really hit the textbooks, history books was Run DMC, and then of course Tupac and Biggie, artists like that, and then you can move on down the timeline into what we have today. But
Cypress Hill.
That's
probably one of the ones that I would think that actually makes you want to kind of rage in a way. Cypress Hill goes pretty hard. I mean,
I haven't really.
Just the way that they sing and the way that the music is, it makes you want to like jump around. And,
okay.
It just makes you want to act. Like a lot of other ones, it just makes you want to
do
this kind of thing and rap along.
I was gonna say
like Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, all those kind of music.
Right.
But there's definitely like the other one, which is like similar to like maybe like SPM.
Yes.
Cypress Hill. I mean, they're like all this like Mexican cholo.
Exactly. There's also Immortal Technique. I don't know if you've looked at, but that's kind of the same thing. So for those of you just listening to the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or Apple Music, what Diego's Emotions was right now was saying that during the original or the start of hip hop. Was kind of like when you would go to concerts, kind of like you're bopping your head type of thing.
Yeah.
You're kind of just waving a little
Hand
bit
up in the air.
Right.
Like you just don't care.
Like you just don't care. And that was kind of like the dance move to do at a concert. Whereas now we're at a point where in rap there's mosh pits.
Yeah.
In hip hop, what do you want to define hip hop or rap as? There's mosh pits. So look, I'll tell you my answer. I'll tell you my answer. Where I think, at least for our generation, is at least because I feel like if you want to go back 20 years and we weren't even, even knew what music was. So for our generation, what I think led up to kind of the Travis Scott thing, and I'm not saying that they're culpable or anything like that.
Yeah, no, it's just culturally. Odd Future. I think that there's never before Odd Future. There was never really, for our generation at least, there was never really like a group or an artist that you just said, that made you just want to hate everything, that, wanted to F your dad, not wanted to F your dad, but you would say F your dad. There was like a rage within them. And not that they necessarily as individuals meant it, but like they found a fan base through that. And I remember like back in high school, when I was going to high school, that, Odd Future was a thing. And you kind of see like this
group of individuals that would they're fans of them, the way they were dressed and everything. So it was like a mixture between like the hard rock people and the punk people and this Odd Future. They would kind of get along because their music was in similar like values type of thing. So like I feel like or do you have someone previous what do you think, man?
No, it's just I think it's, at least for how it lit up, I think it's like a lot of different things. I think, for example, it could be a mixture between like Eminem and like Slipknot, where like people liking both of them. Okay. And then Odd Future came up, and I mean, because obviously like Eminem right now and like Slipknot, they're all like 40 something, almost 50.
Yeah.
And Odd Future, I think Tyler's like 32, 35.
Yeah, so they were like way more relatable for our youth.
Yeah.
But that was a smooth transition for someone that was like a fan of Eminem and Slipknot. A transition into Odd Future was like seamless.
Like
that was you?
Yeah, okay, it was like, so literally like that's why I was like me.
It was like an easy transition because like it was nice to, because like life for individuals around the age of like 13, 15, like you just feel like everything's against you, right? So like it's so easy for you to be like gravitated into artists that sing or rap about what you're feeling sometimes, right? Whether they mean it or not, you could care less. Like it means something to you.
Yeah.
So I'd say that was like kind of like the foundation of what kind of brought this up. Now, obviously all these artists, Tyler Creator, Frank Ocean, Earl Sweatshirt, Taco, and whatever. They've always they've grown up now. They've kind of done their own thing now, so they're independent and they don't feel this way anymore. I mean, even Tyler Creator has come out to say like, hey, that was like a phase of mine.
Yeah, like
songs like
he hates Bastard. He hates singing Bastard at the shows.
What was the name of that one song though? Which one? He's a cockroach. Yonkers. He hates doing that song because like
all of the old young.
Because he's like, that was a phase of mine. I'm past it, but everybody wants to hear that song because that's where they know him from. Like that was like his first like super hit, surely.
Yeah, it's like, can you play your super hits kind of thing?
Exactly, and like as an artist, we can talk about some other time. They hate. I mean, for the most part, they hate that. Like I heard Radiohead, Tom York with Creep. I mean, he just doesn't play it because like it's just like it was past.
It's either it's that, and also that they've made so much better music.
Exactly.
Artistically, they've gone so far. It's like, are you really gonna ask me to play that one that I hated? Like
that's a good point, dude.
When I was young, like come on, it's like.
So it's nostalgic for us fans, but it's unfortunate for the artist because if you draw a picture when you're 10 and then you draw a picture when you're 20, like you really like that stuff, bro. Like yo, look at my new stuff. So it's like same thing. So respect artists, guys. But yeah, so Yonkers, I mean, right off the bat, he says some crazy stuff like, was it slit Bruno Mars' throat until the cops come in or something like that? It's like, it's crazy stuff, right? No one hates Bruno Mars like that, but the fact that he had the audacity to say that, it's like, oh yeah, you know what? F this and F that type of thing. So I feel like people found maybe like unlocked a version or a part of themselves through that music, because like, I've never heard another artist say this, so because he said it or she said it, I'm gonna follow through with this. So obviously I feel like those people that were like big fans of Odd Future is no more for the most part, I think, anymore.
Yeah,
they've kind of grown up and we're all good, right? But
I think they're just a brand now. Yeah,
I feel like the fan base or the hype fan base that we have today are kind of like reminiscent of us about 10 years ago, whenever we were kind of looking for that escape of through music, right? So that's where we come into the SoundCloud. So you know more about this than I do, for sure. So do you think SoundCloud artists kind of are a branch out of kind of what Odd Future was?
Yeah.
F everything, or depression or anxiety.
I think like definitely, they liked Odd Future. They liked those kind of bands and rap groups. But they also like the rock side of like punk and like I don't know. I just go back to Slipknot because it's like the one I like. I guess it's like personal experience. But there's definitely that connection because the way that the music sounds is very much like the new like hardcore, death metal, that kind of sounds. Yeah. And then for example, like I guess just like a Quizlet kind of answer would be like, I think XXXTentacion. I think he's the artist that started what led to the concert at Travis Scott. I literally think that's the connection.
Yeah, I'd agree.
He was the first one to just say like, horrid stuff in his songs and admit to doing horrible stuff that people still liked. I mean, I was one of them. Like, I liked them. Obviously, after the stuff that comes out, there's definitely like a...
Right.
You understand, like, oh, I can't, like, contribute my money to this person. Like, it's just messed up. But like, whenever that kind of music was first coming out, I remember being in college and just being on the bus, like... bah, 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 bah. Like, kind of like, when that, look at me. Like, when that first came out, I was like, yeah. I was just at the bus, just banging my head, just like angry for no reason, right? And I literally think that sound is what's been transmitted into, or transferred into what Travis Scott is now, because they were contemporaries. I think like Travis Scott also has albums on SoundCloud whenever he first started, basically at the same time, or around the same time. But I think it's just that they're contemporaries. If X was alive, I guess they'd be contemporaries right now.
I'd also say maybe like Travis Scott's first was like a mixtape that you call it on SoundCloud, or mixtape that he put out was never really as angry as X's, right? Yeah. But I feel like, unfortunately, X passed away a couple years ago, so I feel like there's also like a lot of fans of his like kind of lost. Hey, you know what? Yeah. Who's a new guy? Where's the hype going to? And obviously, Travis Scott, after putting out Astro World, got mad hype. It got crazy hype. So I feel like it was like another transition for those fans. Maybe, I don't know about yourself, if you'd say you're a Travis Scott fan or not. I mean, before the accident.
I like his music.
Kind of transitioned into Travis Scott. Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think, there's definitely like little sub-genres.
Of course.
Where, there's like Xavier Wolf, there's like Suicide Boys. There are also this is like a completely different thing, but maybe I would say that Suicide Boys started what X was doing too.
Oh, they're before X or
SoundCloud they're previously, and then you could say, for example, because the people who inspired Suicide Boys was 3 6 Mafia and the whole Memphis rap. Which was like you could just track it back down that way. So
but they've always kind of been more underground, whereas
they're on the
SoundCloud was more mainstream. No. Or not mainstream, like
the
like
little
Disney, right?
Yeah, but the name of SoundCloud was supposed to be the underground, which then became the mainstream sound. So it's like,
so
now Travis Scott had the McDonald's, the collab, which is, I think it's pretty ridiculous. Like,
that's Disney, right? They're Disneyfied.
Disney, like that's completely Disneyfied. Yeah. Like,
it's just money. I mean, he could care less about a Big Mac, but he got a couple million from that, so why not sign off?
You can see that SoundCloud rap becoming Disneyfied completely, which was supposed to be. It's like you're saying, like indie, like indie now is the sound. Yeah. But indie was supposed to be independent. Yeah. But it's like no one in indie is independent now. Like,
no. And the ones that are is like you won't hear about because everybody else is just covering the platform. And so I'd say that's kind of where the toxicity came from. Maybe that's a good word. Toxicity from the fans. This extraness. Because, like, from what you said about the Idols concert, you said you went to one, and you saw, I don't know if you said that actually happened there, where someone, failed or something.
I sheltered someone from being stepped on.
Okay.
Just, like, I was in the mosh pit, I saw someone get knocked over, and, like, me and some other dude were just like...
Perfect.
You okay?
Good.
Come back on.
And why does that not happen at a show like at Travis Scott's concert?
That's where I would say is... The things to blame for that... I think it's social media.
Yeah, 100%.
Because social media has made people believe that they are a profile, right?
Yeah.
In a way, even in real life, especially people who are growing up with social media now, they've never experienced life without it.
Yeah.
So they are the character that it's in their profile. Yeah. They don't have a life outside of it.
Right.
So if I give up that I'm angry facade, then I'm not. Then I'm a fake, or that's where I think that whole thing is coming from, where you're angry, right? But you don't realize that, like, oh well, yeah, but like we're all having fun. No. You don't understand. Like I'm angry, and it's like, okay, dude, like just move on. Like, and that's just the thing where it's like you're angry as a profile, and you gotta just keep it, because otherwise people are gonna be like, oh, that guy's not really angry. Exactly. He's faking it. It's like it's a feeling. It's emotions. Like you gotta just display it.
And the way that transitions into the concert is like, if I don't get as close as possible to him, I wasn't even there.
Yeah, that and just I gotta have like a physical facade to the people that are around me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like
I gotta dress up. I gotta wear the new Travis Scott shoes, the new jersey, whatever, and present myself there. Take a picture, make sure that everybody sees it and knows that like, I'm the real deal.
Yeah.
And there's no like cover up or anything like that. So I'm not saying that at the concert, at the festival, there weren't people blocking other people. I did see some TikToks or videos where like people were like, hey, you know, this person needs help.
Yeah.
But like everybody else is like, oh, this is an opportunity to get a little closer.
Yeah.
This is a little opportunity to, you know, get closer to him and kind of like do my thing. So it's like,
right.
Everybody out there is, I'm not saying everybody. Okay. So a lot of people are kind of out there for themselves, right? Or would you?
Well, I don't know. I was just like, I blame the attitude on social media, but there was also like 50,000 people, like over capacity, with like one ambulance, with people saying like you got to stop it. And he was like, nah,
they're good. And it's like,
you know,
and like, I mean, not defending her or anything, but when there's 50,000 people, they all kind of look like ants, right?
It's like
because
that,
at an elevated surface or level, you know, and maybe like it's on the corner of your eye and the lights are all on you. So you might be, I don't know, look, I'm not defending the guy, but there's so many factors that contribute. It's just kind of hard to say, but I'd also say it's the fan base, right? I'd say the fan base and the kind of this attitude that social media kind of makes them.
Yeah. The toxicity of.
The
toxic attitude,
I have an example as well, actually. About a month ago, I went to a Action Bronson concert. It was, I like Action Bronson. So who opened for him was Earl Sweatshirt. So Earl Sweatshirt used to be part of Odd Future. So it's funny because this kind of goes into this kind of atmosphere, this kind of a toxicity, this kind of attitude that fan base has. So I didn't, you know, I like Action Bronson, so I went for him really. But during the Earl Sweatshirt performance, first of all you can smell the weed, right? Everybody's just blowing, right? You look around, everybody, and that's normal. There's nothing crazy about, you know, weed or anything like that. But you can look around, or I looked around, and I noticed that the audience was at the what's the word? The audience, the people, the what is that word?
The youngins.
Yeah, you know, they're all youngins. Yeah, I can't. There's this word for it. The
public.
Oh, and that's gonna bother me, man. Like your type of fan base. What do you call your fan base? Your
fan base.
Demographic.
Okay.
The demographic. For the most part, the people are all like, you can just tell they're like high schoolers or they just graduated. They're all like 18, 19, right? Nothing wrong with that, right? But I remember this Earl Sweatshirt played this song, and people started moshing, right? And the venue was quite small. It's quite small. It's outside, and people started moshing, and he was like, "Hey, yo, chill out!" Like, you know, so he as an artist is like, "Hey, this ain't kind of the place. This isn't the vibe." So he kept on doing the show. Another song later, they started moshing again. So he straight up's like, "Hey guys, yo, this song is about depression. Like, what are you guys moshing about?" Like, he was like so serious. Like, first of all, he doesn't want people to get injured because it was kind of like not right after, but you know, the whole Travis Scott thing was kind of like, you know, settling down. So he doesn't want to be,
it's just a thing in history now.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's like, yo, guys, like the point of this song is about depression. Like, why are you guys moshing? And at that point, I kind of realized, and I connected what we were talking about that around that time is like, it's really the fan base. Like, they aren't moshing because like they feel the song, the lyrics hit them. It's like the vibes there. You know, the person right next to them is kind of feeling the same way. So why not? Type of thing.
Yeah.
That's that toxicity. That's that. Yeah. That's kind of like the downfall. What could be the downfall for this genre potentially? Because like, as an artist, if you're making a song about something you care about a lot, maybe like, you know, the love of your life, and people start moshing, it's like, you know, what do you do next? What do you make songs about? You change your subject, you change your sound. It's just really the fan base. Like, there's no solution to that. And it's not that, you know, Earl Sweatshirt, you know, calls for that as an artist, kind of how big Travis Scott is, but it's just the people, you know, and maybe it's the age. I don't know. I mean,
I think it's a mixture of like everything.
It's a lot of things.
It's also the mixture of like, I guess like again going back to like the Rock and like Slipknot concerts. Yeah. There's obviously like a demographic, whereas it's me, it's you, it's maybe your dad even, like, you know what I mean, that kind of like age groups.
Your brother, your older brother,
right?
sister on.
So then there's still a gap where people are gonna be like, hey, you gotta stop what you're doing and help this person. There's that culture of like, we're not gonna be toxic here.
Yeah.
But at concerts, specifically with like rap, like for example, I don't know why I just decided I was gonna go to the Playboi Carti concert. That was literally the epitome with the people rushing the stage, literally jumping over the fences. Like the cops were like, no, the security's just like stopping them. And then you just see them pushing their way through, being chased, their shirts ripped from the people trying to get them and whatnot.
Jesus.
And the whole time I was like, I'm literally inside those videos you see on Twitter. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, interesting. And that was like here in Oregon, right? Here in Oregon.
And when was this?
Dang, that was like, I don't know, months ago.
Oh, months?
Yeah, months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Oh, a long time ago.
Like months, I guess. Yeah, it's not recent. I haven't been there recent, but it
was like pre or post Travis Scott?
Post.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Post.
So that was recent.
Yeah.
Jeez,
it was for his latest album.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
And what was his reaction? Was he?
Because
I mean, that's
and the whole culture inside afterwards was, I literally saw after all that, it's like people rushing and just going crazy.
Yeah.
I remember just standing in the back, and I kind of wanted to go in, but it was also just like all 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
I was like, this is weird.
Yeah.
And then that's why I was like, I made the mistake of going. I was just like, I just wanted to see it because I thought it was cool. I like his music too, but I was like, it wasn't too expensive either, the tickets. So I was like, why not?
Okay.
But like, yeah, there was that whole really toxic culture. I remember feeling people just rushing and just like hitting me on the side, and then I see them like just continue running, and it's just like these like football player, high school year old like people. Yeah. So they're just big, but it's like I remember getting hit, and then the guy's just running and just tackles into the crowd, into the group of people, and just like a girl just flies out of the way. I was like,
oh man,
this is like really like, did you have like who? And that's where the toxic is like, did you see what I just did? Kind of like attitude. It's like,
yeah,
dude. It's just like, man. Even when we were that young though, it's like we never really were mean people. I mean, obviously kids are mean, and there's like bullying and all that kind of stuff, but it's like, where we just like this like, did you record that, bro? Kind of thing.
Because it was also like a time where like going to concerts was like kind of just being there, like, hey, as long as you're kind of there and present, you see him or her like performing, like that's more than enough for you.
Yeah.
And now it's like you're performing for social media. You're performing for someone now. At that point, you're kind of like you're being part of the show of I don't know, like being so aggressive. Like if you didn't do that, you didn't go to the show.
Yeah.
If you didn't mosh, you didn't do it right.
If you didn't hop over the security, then you weren't there, bro.
Yeah, it's like, and then the next day on Monday morning, hey, Thomas, did you freaking go over the fence too, bro? Yeah. I didn't see you. It was crazy. We're like, no, I didn't do it. Oh, so you weren't even there, bro. It's like, so next time it's like, so it goes crazy, and it's like this like snowball effect of like, what's the craziest thing you're gonna do, and I'm gonna top that next time. And so it's like, that's
the whole social media like.
Exactly.
I'm viral, bro.
And like, exactly. And so the same thing with like, I mean, just kind of like something I'm quite familiar with is like soccer games when people run on the field, and it's like the only reason they do that, for the most part, is to be on the news and be have some attention and stuff like that.
Get a picture, if anything, too. Yeah,
picture and whatever. It's like, like at that point you're disrespecting the performer, you're disrespecting the artist, the soccer player, the field, the players, the sport. And it's like it's not about you, It's like it's about everybody enjoying it and seeing it as it is. Yeah. And man, it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. Yeah. So my next question is like, where do we go from here? What's next? What is there a solution? Do we go back to what we used to do? 10 years ago? Do we trace back? What do you think, man? What do you think? There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer.
Well, I mean, as far as like accidents and concerts, that kind of like thing, it was obviously. Also, a lot of issues with like the concert organizers.
Yeah.
So, I think that Travis Scott concert did do a lot of displaying that. For example, Live Nation, which is the one that like put it together, they're not qualified. Like they're just not. They're saving so much money on all security measures and like health concerns and whatnot. Yeah. They're just like, whatever. We're making money, and like that's been a thing. Like if you look up articles, that's been a thing with Live Nation even before that.
Okay.
I remember going to like Jambalaya. I went to the one in somewhere. Yeah. And then it was at a racetrack.
Oh wow.
Close to here.
Yeah.
And I remember people were passing out. Like, it was so hot in the middle of the summer. It was like July. It was so hot, and you're there for like 12 hours, right? Because it's a 1 day thing, but it's like you're just there. So people are just there. The crowd was so crazy. It was like Migos, Chance, Gucci Mane, Lil Uzi Vert at the hype of Lil Uzi Vert. 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
And people were passing out, and it was such a concern. I remember counting like 5 people just being carried away, like around me.
Wow.
I remember like my eyes going like I went blind for like a little bit from like heat stroke.
Jeez, man.
And then I exited the whole thing, and I was like sweaty, and at that point it was already like mid concert, and the people were passing out. It was like kind of crazy. That was like half through the day. Yeah. People were already like going nuts. It got so crazy that it became like an emergency situation. Jeez. So they brought in truckloads of water that they were supposed to sell and just gave it away. They were like, "Get this water. Who needs water?" And they were just like tossing it, and it's like, I remember like going up, like, "Can I get a water?" Yeah, like, give this other one to whoever needs it. I was like, "Oh," and that's just like a thing that Live Nation.
So they're more like an organizers type of.
They're trying to cut costs on different things.
Yeah.
And specifically just like the health of the people who are going.
So do you think the future of this is having these organizers a little bit more held more accountable?
Concerns, yeah, definitely.
And having them like by law per like 10,000 people, for example, you have to have 5 ambulances, type of thing per capita, right? Mm-hmm. And free water, something like that.
Water should be free.
Yeah, water.
I think water should be free.
It should be free. Honestly, especially like a whole festival like that. If it's like a concert night, like maybe sell it, sure, why not? But if it's a festival, you're there for a couple of days, type of thing, then at least like water fountains. I mean, even
now they have those like free water stations sometimes,
which tastes nasty. But I mean, at the very least, to start, right? Yeah. Okay, so you don't think it's like an artist something they gotta fix?
No, I think, I don't know. I think like at this point, like I said, with the social media and that kind of culture, the toxicity, I don't think it's gonna go away. Yeah. I mean, now there's like TikTok, and there's gonna be something new coming out, and now the kids are even crazier. I mean, they literally they're like 5, and you hand them an iPad. Yeah. It's like with my little brothers, now they're all about Roblox kind of thing. So like they're young as heck, with like an iPad, saying random
messages,
whatever. Yeah.
So they're just like evolving a lot faster, like they're developing a lot faster, maybe fortunately or unfortunately, but. I mean, hopefully what I'd say is that, because it would suck for an artist to be like, hey, you can't make this type of music anymore, because that's the whole thing about being an artist, right? You kind of do what you want, you kind of write or play or draw whatever you want, and to limit that's just not being an artist anymore. So I'd agree that it's the organizers, the venues, responsibility to have some sort of like law or rule in place,
something
to prepare for the worst case scenario, which unfortunately people did pass away at Travis Scott's or the Astro World Festival in 2021,
and it's in part everything, I think, and it's literally like just a combination of factors that
everything and there's no one answer to it, there's no one solution to it. But I think setting some sort of standard for venues is a good start. It's a good start. Not the solution, but a good start. And I hope never happens again, man. I hope that never happens. I hope people are able to enjoy the concert. Sure, it might suck to be the last person closest to the entrance, but look, the whole point of you're there is that you can see perform live, and they have big plasmas, TVs or whatever that you can see them no matter where you're standing from. At least I hope so. And enjoy them because it would suck to have some sort of like, hey, you know what, this artist can't perform anywhere, or like it might not even be that, like whenever he has his next album and he wants to go tour, there might be like stadiums that say, hey, you know what, we don't want you here because of what happened over there, we're gonna get canceled or whatever. Like, so there's like the cancel culture. We can go into that another topic and another day, because that's a whole different thing right there too. But it would suck to him not get the respect as an artist that he deserves, for whatever that means, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. It's some deep stuff. I mean, it's just because I feel like we're also like, it's almost like this was bound to happen. The way that everything was going, the way that everybody was acting, it was kind of bound to happen. Like, it was kind of leading up to this. Unfortunately, but, maybe this is like a time for us to reflect and kind of like, okay, you know what? Or I hope, these young people, this toxic community, everybody, us included, can be like, hey, you know what? Is it worth that? Probably not.
Yeah,
probably not.
It's It's I mean it's like I think it goes back to like cancel culture and all that, but it's just like a completely different topic. So I don't know if you want to really get into that.
Yeah, I mean that's just because like I don't want to get into like the whole, did he know what was going on type of thing, and did he ignore it? Did he not see it? I mean, I heard that he was told about it through his headset or whatever. But look, I didn't look into it. I don't know. I'm not defending him. I'm not accusing him. But
yeah,
I'd prefer to leave it at that. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, man. But yeah, man, we'll wrap it up at that because. Yeah, I'd rather if there's something more that we have to say, I think that we should make another episode because it deserves its own kind of like independent time to talk about because it's just so much, man. It's just so much. There's no way we can knock it out.
It deserves another like 30
minimum,
30 minutes
minimum.
Least,
but look, man, I appreciate coming over here, giving you your insight in music, culture, and spending some time with me, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Oh, we're glad to have you here, man. So we'll leave it at that. Y'all take it easy now. Be sure to like us, subscribe, repost, retweet, anything.
Hit the bell.
Hit the bell, the notification bell, and we'll stay in touch with you guys. So this is episode 13, coming out to you live from Pleb Talk Studios. Y'all have a good night, good day. Have a nice day at work. Work out, stretch, drink water. Exercise and be healthy.
Good stuff.
All right, y'all. Take it easy now. Good night.